Hello, everyone, and welcome to my next series, the next Patreon selected game. It is time for Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 8. I'm pretty excited for this. This is not my first run. I've played it through 3 times on my PlayStation. This is my first run on PC, and in order to keep it fresh, so to speak, my decision about difficulty and which achievements to go through is this. I'm going to do a new game run on Village of Shadows difficulty. This rules out a lot of things. I'm pretty confident it rules out a knife-only run. I'm certain it rules out the speed run. I'm going to go for all the collectibles, and I'm not going to worry too much about anything else besides getting through the game. So that's what we're going to do. I'm pretty excited about it. I hope you are too. Let's start a new game. Difficulty. Casual, will take it easy on you. Standard, just your average difficulty. Hardcore, will hit you with all we've got. And Village of Shadows, survive the unsurvivable. Before I do that, though, we should look at bonuses. There's the, if I look at the movies, there's a Remembering Resident Evil 7, which I'm going to go ahead and go through right now. So you can see I've fiddled around a little on the PC version, but I really haven't played much.
Okay. Where to start? My name? It's Ethan. Ethan Winters. It's been 3 years since everything happened at the Baker house. I was looking for my wife, who disappeared. I got an email from her. She told me to come get her. And of course, that's how I ended up in the middle of nowhere, Louisiana. I found Mia being held captive in a dark basement. She wasn't thinking right. She attacked me like some kind of wild animal. Later on, I found out that she was infected by a special kind of mold. I looked all over the house trying to find an antidote, a vaccine, anything. The people who lived there were already infected. What was left of them wasn't human. The source of the infection was a bioweapon that looked like a little girl. Her name was Evelyn. I fought the fucked up family and was able to treat Mia's symptoms with a serum. Then Chris Redfield and his soldier buddies showed up and saved the both of us. Is that enough? I really don't want to talk about what happened anymore.
Fair enough, Ethan.
It's all over now.
Yeah, good luck with that, boyo. Well, let's go ahead and look at the concept art. I mean, why not? Select a piece of concept art and view full screen for more details. This is really interesting. Resident Evil 7 character designs included some character models that were different or didn't even appear in the final version of the game, such as the dog. Chris was originally going to be early middle-aged. Peter, Manuel, Andre, Mia, Ethan, Alan Douglas, Dave Anderson, Dog, Jack, Meg, Kevin, Annabelle, Marguerites, Chris Redfield, Molded, Evelyn. I like it. Change text. Okay. Initial rough drafts of Ethan and Mia when they were not going to be married, but strangers. Ethan was an investigator and Mia was a missing person. I like it. Family photo of the Bakers. When this picture was planned, the old woman and young girl were separate characters. I'm glad they didn't make you kill a dog. Initial rough draft of the Baker family included a wide range of bizarre characters. They included a violent father, mother made of bugs, trapper brother, Mia was practically an invisible sister, twin younger brothers, and a crazy grandma. Well, some of that is really wild. Another rough draft of the Bakers has each member associated with a particular color. Jack was yellow, Marguerite was purple, Lucas was blue, and Zoe was red. Rough draft of Evelyn, Chris, and Dave. The young boy in the middle was originally the youngest Baker, Remy, but he was cut. Evelyn ended up taking his place. Jack's glasses were his key focal point for his character during early development. The image on the right is of his chainsaw fight. The left shows an early design for a mutated Jack where he looked more like himself, but this was later changed so the player could easily identify his weak points. The picture on the right is a design for Mia's colleague, Alan. One idea for Marguerite's mutated form, we originally thought up a design similar to earlier Resident Evil games, with lots of body parts coming out of her, but we ended up going for a new and refreshing design. Design for Evelyn's final form, enlarged by mold. When we were designing her, we had to show each department how every part of her fit together with the head in the center. Everyone else is home. Just give me 1 minute to let the dog out. All right. Huge body, inside the body, tentacle of attack, tentacle, arm, head, and mouth. That's pretty fun. These are rough drafts of Evelyn's final form. Her old woman form transforms into a giant monster that absorbed her body. The main antagonists were the Baker family, so the designs of the general monsters, the molded, were some of the hardest ones. They needed to stand out without taking attention away from the Bakers. The Bakers look realistically human thanks to a technique using scanned photographs, so we wanted the molded to not outshine them. Design for the four-legged molded. The name molded comes from mold and transformed. We wanted the enemy names in Resident Evil 7 to be ones that the Baker family might have come up with themselves. Molded generation. Oh wow, Wonder Baby. Yeah, so in this case they're showing like a human trapped in a bathtub and they pour a bucket of mold over them. Oh, design for the fat molded. In the bottom right, you can see how the molded are made. Victims are kept in cages covered with mold, then left for 2 or 3 days to turn. The moment the molded are born. Rough draft for a type of white molded that was axed. This was going to be a female variety that had tentacles resembling hair. Underneath the hair was a mouth-like appendage that extends out and attacks. There were also early development plans to have an antibody gun that would have been effective against the molded. Designs for Marguerite's creepy crawlies. From the top, there are adult and young man-eating insects, as well as man-eating spiders that live in doorways. They were made pallid in order to appear less repulsive. Insects found in some real abandoned buildings in Louisiana were used as reference. Art from early development of Resident Evil 7. This was the moment we decided the setting, and from there the whole game was based in the American South. The main dining room inside the house. There weren't plans for a main house and guest house at this point. This was drawn when we were coming up with ideas for the guest house and trying to work out the size and layout of the house. An underground area where the family kept a terrifying monster that needed a large feeding hatch. Early concept art of the guest house. The size is close to the final version, but the light coming in made it less scary. The final version was a lot darker. Concept art for the guest house living room. This became the room where the VCR was found in the release version of the game. This layout became too difficult to understand and navigate in-game, so it got a complete overhaul. Concept art for the second floor of the guest house. This was changed to the third floor. That you, babe?
Yeah.
Dinner? We have dinner. Concept art for the second floor of the guest house. This was changed to the third floor with a hidden staircase added. Concept art showing Andre's corpse in the guest house basement. One initial idea was to have the player take the flashlight from Andre's body. Concept art for the scene in the guest house where Mia crawls up the stairs towards Ethan. The final design of the main house was based on on-site research of Louisiana. The outside of the Baker's home is based on plantation houses that date back to the American Civil War and the era of slavery in the U.S. A rough design of the main house. Initial plans had a windmill in the front yard, but later research revealed there are no windmills in Louisiana. The house was also surrounded by open land and not the bayou, which didn't make it feel like a horror game at all. The talisman design for Resident Evil 7, made by Jack out of a cow head and legs. We based it on images of mold, bacteria, and cells. Early development concept art for the main house. The final version did not have you enter through the front door. The layout for the second floor was also completely different. The dining room of the main house had a completely different feel from the final version. The room and lighting atmosphere changed after on-site research. One of the biggest differences was the main table. It used to be square, but we found a round table in a Louisiana home which better suited the family coming together. The garage in the main house that you fight Jack in. Initial plans had the garage and boiler together in a single room. The sunlit entrance hall in the main house. This is very different from the final version with the grandfather clock in the center and curved stairs. Until the final version, early concept art included a large open yard. This concept art for the entrance hall is much closer to the final version. The room is full of furniture and several taxidermied animals, giving it a lived-in feel. Concept art for one of the shadow puzzles in the main house. These rooms needed to be used for fights and puzzles, so we tried to make them as disconcerting as possible. Shadow puzzle in the old house. Shadow puzzle in Lucas's room. The crow key, scorpion key, and snake key and their doors. On the right is the design for the three-headed dog relief. Concept art for the yard. There were always plans to have a trailer in the center of the yard, trapped by the house around it. Early on during development, Zoe's room was not going to be the trailer, but a room in the main house which Ethan saves her from. The room was going to have a sort of Louisiana folklore theme to it. The old house was once situated on solid ground, but was flooded by a hurricane, which is why it was separated from the main house and barricaded up. Louisiana is a region that is often hit by major hurricanes, and we wanted to show that the Baker family were impacted by them too. You can see dolls in this concept art for the old house. We left objects associated with children all over the house because that was where Evelyn's room is. A web-covered room inside the old house. This concept art for the old house shows an image of a room with a severely damaged floor. Beyond that, you can see the staircase that leads up to the child's room. Marguerite walks down the corridor with a candle to receive mold from Evelyn. The destruction in the room was caused by a hurricane. The jetty behind the old house that leads to the bayou. The crow key is kept away from the house in a remote location so no one can get to it. Concept for an overgrown greenhouse where Marguerite used to grow her plants. It was once a beautiful greenhouse, but turned to ruin when Evelyn arrived. This is the location for the boss fight with Marguerite. Concept art for mutated Marguerite. Her arms and legs are warped in a terrifying way as she relentlessly pursues Ethan. That's fact. The child's room in the old house that Evelyn lives in. It's full of toys for girls like a dollhouse and dolls. These dolls are unlike the ones in the entrance to the old house and are based on the molded. Evelyn grows her family ever larger with the mold. A temporary design for the room behind the child's room where a life-size doll is seated instead of Evelyn. The final design for the room behind the child's room where you can find the body of the D-series. The ceiling was made to be low to give it a claustrophobic feeling. Concept art for Lucas's section of the game. When you enter the room, there are black lights which make it feel almost like a nightclub. This was to give players a new, different sense of fear from the rest of the family. Blue and white were the key colors for Lucas. Let's Play written on the entrance to Lucas's section of the game. Continue into Lucas's area and it expands into white rooms covered in plastic sheeting. Halfway through development, we decided to make tripwire bombs Lucas's main weapon of choice. And we wanted to make the design for Lucas's area different from a traditional haunted house. His avant-garde interests really stand out. It was difficult to get the right balance between crazy and comical. Excuse me. Concept art for when the four-legged molded first appear in Lucas's section. Oh no. Yuck. Sorry about that. Cool. More concept art for Lucas's area. A strange puzzle in Lucas's section, where various items are laid out, but the room's painted white. This created a very unique space in the game. It did at that. Very memorable. You can see a number of strange puzzles scattered about Lucas's section in this piece. They're based not just on Lucas's twisted interests, but on the concepts of family and life and death. Such as a birthday cake being a symbol for life, while the picture of hanging corpse and grave are connected to death. The goddess's stomach symbolizes life, but it is also accompanied by pain. The mold infection does not have a strong grip on Lucas. As a result, he is filled with the most hopelessness, joy, and desire for destruction. Concept art for a cut boat fight when Mia and Ethan escape the house. The idea was that the fight with Jack would take place in the muddy waters. Concept art for the shipwreck, a destroyed tanker which Evelyn split in two with her powers. Louisiana used to have a thriving gas industry with a large number of tankers. Mia and her colleague Alan get passage on the tanker from Europe to the US, pretending to be Evelyn's parents. The aim of the shipwreck at the endgame was to give the player a renowned sense of fear, a change of pace from the excitement of the fights and puzzles in the Baker house. Concept art for Ethan being trapped in the mold by Evelyn on the shipwreck. Concept art for the mine just in front of Lucas's research lab. It's a salt mine, which is why the cave walls are white. Concept art for Evelyn creating mutamycete. This whole incident with the Baker family was caused by a single girl wanting to create a network of mold across the world in order to have a family of her own. A concept design for Ethan from early on in Village's development. He had a backpack for his inventory instead of a suitcase. Concept art of Mia reading the picture book. In our early drafts, she was still recovering from the incidents during Resident Evil 7 and was in a wheelchair. Oh, people are still sending me work emails. We're outside work hours. Early plans had a mysterious masked person that saves Ethan. This was going to be Ada Wong investigating the village, but this was cut due to a number of conflicting scenarios. A rough draft of an early design for Dimitrescu. Her concept was a bewitching vampire with giant garden clippers. Early development concept art for the Beneviento family, based around the idea of a ghost family. Their house was always going to be a single building in front of a giant waterfall. The family were rake-thin parents and children wearing strange masks. There's also a picture of the wife who threw herself into the waterfall due to a tragic incident in the past. A rough draft of the monster Moreau. He was always going to be a disgusting merman, and although his design didn't change that much, the parasite on his back was originally going to be a girl he once had feelings for. You can also see the flooded village setting. An early rough draft of the Wolfmen. There was going to be a scene where the young men of the village drank from a chalice and turn, but this was eventually cut. An early draft of Heisenberg's family. The biggest difference was that Heisenberg was going to be a twin, and his mother was a subject for brain experiments. Heisenberg's father was going to be the leader of the village, and the boss fight with the mechanical mutation was originally going to be with him. Early development rough draft of the leader of the village's religion before we came up with Miranda. He was going to transform into a dragon-like monster, but this idea was later used for the Dimitrescu boss fight. Early development concept art for the Duke, the merchant. From the very beginning to the final game, he was always going to be a large character. The Duke is a merchant and a foodie, and was going to be the fifth lord in early drafts. In Resident Evil 7, we utilized a photo scanning technique for the character designs, but in Village we decided to be more creative and tried character designs that didn't look like regular humans. The merchant's carriage. Duke travels with his horse and carriage all over the village. It's his home, business, and means of transport. The symbol of the merchant is a lantern decorated with goat bones. The idea was that you would know it was a safe location even from a distance. We have a number of designs, but decided a round silhouette would be more impactful. A rough design for the remains left by enemies when you defeat them. The overall balance needed to be achieved in the thumbnail image. The remains for Dimitrescu and Varkolak are different from the final version, which has a more ornamental feel. The typewriter for Village was designed to be distinguishable from previous games like RE2 and RE3. The costumes and objects are based on 1960s designs, including the typewriter. Even from early development, the same gameplay as Resident Evil 7 was used, which meant using item boxes. However, as development went on, we decided to change the game to be more like Resident Evil 4 and removed the item boxes. Design for the labyrinth based on Castle Dimitrescu. The labyrinths were designed after something you'd see at the end of the 19th century and were originally going to be tributes to the Four Lords. The labyrinth on the left is Beneviento's and was based on Donna's area. The path passes through a graveyard and over a waterfall via suspension bridges. The labyrinth on the right is based on Moreau's Reservoir, with the windmills in the center. There was also a design of the fishing village with boats when it wasn't flooded. Heisenberg's labyrinth is based on his factory. It uses train tracks between a house and the factory, moving into the coal mines. Early development concept art. Initial ideas had the story switching between the village in modern day and the past set in medieval times. 2 early designs for altars in the church that display the castle gate reliefs. An early design for an altar in the village that displays a castle gate relief. An early design for the safe rooms had a camera as the save point instead of a typewriter. Storyboard for the Lycans' first appearance. We wanted them to have a wild and animalistic image, unlike the zombies and ganados of the previous games. Storyboard for Ethan's trial with all the lords. At this point in development, it was still the Hag, followed by the Four Lords. An early plot point was to have Ada, disguising herself with a mask, help Ethan escape from his trial. This storyboard follows the end of the trial scene as well as Miranda's experiments. Miranda was initially going to be a researcher investigating the village's strange creatures. Concept art for an event that happened in the village before Ethan arrived. The surviving villagers had locked the gate because of the number of people killed by the Lycans, sealing it with the winged key. Castle Dimitrescu concept art. You can see Dimitrescu casually drinking blood as if it was wine. Concept art of the flying enemies in the courtyard of Castle Dimitrescu. Early concept art of Castle Dimitrescu. This was cut from the final version, but this was where Ethan was going to fight Dimitrescu. Concept art for the gate leading to the Lycan's lair. We came up with a few designs for the gate that leads to the stronghold. Early concept art for the birth of Lycans. A victim is slowly encased in mold and then emerges transformed. Moreau concept art where he watches old romance movies and falls into melancholy. He also loves eating cheese. Concept art for one of Donna's dolls. It has a hidden pair of scissors inside that it uses to attack Ethan. Concept art for one of Donna's dolls that turns into a spider-like monster. We had a number of ideas for Donna's dolls, including one with knives coming out of its back and a few wielding weapons in their hands. Cut design for a large Lycan who commands 2 chained Varkolak. Various Lycan weapons, including a spiked hammer, torch, and sling. Various Lycan weapons, including a hunting knife and scabbard, sledgehammer, and more torches. Lycan equipped with claw-like weapons, which are made from a variety of blades found throughout the village. Designs for armor used to protect the lower half of the body. Concept art for a temple close to Heisenberg's factory. This was initially going to be the spot where Miranda sat on her throne and conducted the ceremony. Miranda's throne. There was going to be a scene where Miranda sat here holding Rose during the ceremony. Concept art for Heisenberg's factory, where Ethan is chased by the Soldat series. If the reactors in their chests are destroyed, then the parasite inside will attempt to escape. Hang on. River! River! Come here! Come on. Enough. Enough moving. And stop the dog barking. Sorry about that. And take a drink. I'll be right back. Absolutely not. It's my dinner. Stay. You stay. You hang with me. Stay here, baby. Stay here. Good girl. Goodness gracious me. So much activity. We live with children. Settle down, Woof Woof. It's all good. I promise. We're fine. We're fine. Well, I'm glad they cut that. The plagas that popped out of the Ganados in Resident Evil 4 were a gigantic pain. Designs for various Soldat reactors, but the final design was a grotesque mechanical heart. Concept art of a day in the life of Heisenberg. Night after night, his modified henchmen dig up corpses from the graveyard to be used in his metal army. Hey, quiet. Boss fight with mutated Heisenberg, where he turns into his final form. No. No woofing. Concept art for Chris's part of the game. Although we were unable to explore these characters in depth, the details behind Chris's team, the Hound Wolf Squad, have been pinned down. Storyboard from when the player takes control of Chris to the point where he infiltrates the village. One plan was to focus on each member of the Hound Wolf squad. Storyboard of Chris fighting alongside the Hound Wolf squad inside the village. Storyboard of the BSAA arriving at the village as well as saving Mia. Rough design for mutated Miranda where she was going to transform into a mold creature. The final design looks more like Miranda, which worked better for the plot. Storyboard for the end game with Ethan's death and Chris's decision, creating a sense of uncertainty as a helicopter flies over the village. Storyboard for the end credits. Long ago, a child was born to a family. The family lived in peace for a while. One day a sickness fell on the village, and one by one the people began to die. The wife, too, succumbed to the illness. There were more graves than survivors. It wasn't long before the daughter got sick, but Miranda used the cadeau to create a miracle, and she became a saint. Then the villagers infected with the parasite cadeau turned into lichens. That's it. That's pretty fun. And then we also have the Baker Incident Report. Read a report on events after the Baker incident from Resident Evil 7. Absolutely. A lot of stuff. Front-loading a lot of stuff, y'all. The Baker Incident Report. This report depicts my investigation into the events after the incident at the Baker's residence. The Baker Incident, July 2017. A number of people lost their lives at the residence in the middle of the American countryside. It was a truly horrifying tragedy. I still don't know the exact number of victims. 2 survivors, husband and wife, Ethan and Mia Winters, were able to shed some light on the events which would have shook the world, but there was a cover-up and the Winterses vanished. There is someone or something powerful acting behind the scenes. I just know it. I decided to investigate, to follow the breadcrumbs of what happened after. How can I be so sure? Because I'm someone who was there. First of all, how was this incident reported upon its discovery by the world? Let's take a look at some newspaper clippings from that time to see how the news was manipulated. 1. Discovery of the incident. Local newspaper. The Dolby Daily, July 22nd, 2017. Family of 4 found dead in Dolby. Dolby County Sheriff's Office have reported that the Baker family were found dead in their home in North Dolby on the 21st of July. The surrounding details are currently known, apart from the deaths of currently unknown. Apart from the deaths of Jack Baker, his wife Marguerite, their son Lucas, and daughter Zoe. Deputy Sheriff Dave Anderson has also been missing since the 19th, according to Deputy Sheriff Riley Whiteford, who visited the Baker's residence around the time of his disappearance. Social media posts, July 22nd, 2017. That thing with the dead family, wasn't that where that giant black monster was? You think they were eaten by that thing? No way, it's not some cheesy horror movie. Old man Jack did say some crazy stuff. I remember him getting into a lot of fights. He probably killed the whole family, then offed himself. Transcript of a complaint to the county sheriff's office. I don't believe it. It's been 2 days already, but you haven't reported anything else. Was it murder, an accident, suicide? And what's with the National Guard sealing the place off? What are y'all hiding? Very little was reported shortly after the Baker incident was... No. No barking. No. Very little was reported shortly after the Baker incident was discovered, leading to rapid spread of rumors and speculation. The Bakers were completely isolated from the rest of the community, and sealing off the entire area around their home set things in motion. I recall there sure was a lot of public pressure on the press for information. I admit that at the time I was being held in quarantine by a certain organization and couldn't see any of the news for myself. They finally allowed me to watch TV a few days after, and I was flabbergasted by the stark difference between the reports and reality. 2. The cover-up. Local newspaper, the Dulvey Daily, July 30th, 2017. Sheriff's office say Baker family killed by natural gas. In a follow-up on the deaths of the Baker family on July 21st, the Dulvey County Sheriff's Office stated, "It is highly likely that their deaths were caused by a hydrogen sulfide leak. The local area is surrounded by wetlands, which combined with a concentration of pollution could have led to the buildup of toxic gas that claimed the lives of the Baker family. The leak has been blocked. However, the authorities have sealed off the area in order to prevent any further accidents." Natural gas, huh? The victims included were deceased Jack Baker, Marguerite Baker, Lucas Baker, Zoe Baker, Dave Anderson, Clancy Javis, poor long-suffering Clancy, Andre Stickland, Peter Walken, injured Ethan Winters, Mia Winters. Social media posts, July 30th, 2017. Toxic hydrogen sulfide gas? They're kidding, right? I heard there were soldiers, tanks, helicopters, the whole shebang when it happened. The government's up to something for sure. And here come the conspiracy theorists. A bunch of nut jobs like you came out of the woodwork during the Raccoon City incident, too. But there was that black monster and that satellite photo of the shipwreck. You have to admit, something's fishy. Magazine Inspector. An interview with Sally Baldwin, professor of geological sciences at Minden University. Interviewer. So you don't agree with the report from the sheriff's office that it was a natural gas leak? Baldwin. We can't rule it out completely, but it's very unusual all things considered. Hydrogen sulfide builds up in areas where there is a lot of volcanic activity. The town of Dulvey, however, has no volcanic activity anywhere in the area. My own geological survey in 1998 revealed absolutely no hydrogen sulfide in the area. A tragic natural gas leak. That was the official stance on the Baker incident. But this is a complete fabrication. Nothing about the murders in that house. Nothing about the terrifying monsters that stalked the halls and lived within its walls. It's evident that someone was keeping the truth hidden. The thing that surprised me the most was the fact that my name was on the list of victims. The organization still had me in quarantine. I was terrified the whole thing would come to an end with me actually being among the deceased. Thankfully, it was a needless fear. The organization gave me a new identity and let me go. I guess they figured I was harmless and didn't know anything else. I was allowed to live as a new person, apparently for my own safety. I tried to contact the other two survivors, Ethan and Mia. They saved my life after all. I wanted to at least thank them, but they'd completely disappeared. I know the organization knows where they are, so I decided to investigate the BSAA. BSAA, Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance. Formed before Resident Evil 5. By Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine, among others. A counter-bioterrorism organization sanctioned by the United Nations. It was formed to combat the rise in bioterrorism after the collapse of Umbrella Pharmaceuticals. They have combated terrorism across the world, including China and Europe, and are highly regarded as bioterrorist police. The BSAA finally intervened in the Baker incident and were the ones that saved Ethan, Mia, and I. Thanks to my detainment in their facility, I have a pretty good idea of who their members are. I was very, very persuasive when it came to asking them about the organization and top-secret documents. The topic I was most interested in was, of course, the Baker incident. I wanted to know the truth the BSAA was hiding. 3. The hidden truth. Magazine. Inspector. Secret meeting between the sheriff and international organization. One of our reporters has unearthed evidence that a secret meeting happened between Dolby's Sheriff Coleridge and an international organization known as the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, BSAA. Many have voiced their concerns around the legitimacy of the sheriff's office statement that the incident at the Baker estate was caused by a toxic gas leak. Inspector suspects there might be more to the story, and the sheriff's office and BSAA are covering something up. We reached out to the sheriff's office, but they refused to give a statement. Edgar McClintock. BSAA Investigations Department. Final report on the Baker incident. The following details the investigation into the biological disaster in Dulvey, Louisiana, also known as the Baker incident. This document is for employees with Class B clearance and above. We have concluded that the Baker incident was caused by accidental contamination from a prototype bioweapon known as Evelyn. The residents of the Baker household were contaminated by a mold-like pathogen, mutamycete. Evelyn was capable of rapidly producing this mold, and it enabled her to control those infected, both mentally and physically. The Baker family were not the only victims. Evelyn manipulated the Bakers into kidnapping dozens of people. These victims were infected and mutated into monstrous creatures called molded. Evelyn was originally created in a Munich research facility by the international crime syndicate, The Connections. BSAA dispatched a team to destroy Evelyn. The mission, however, was not successful, and Evelyn escaped. Evelyn was then transferred to America by the Connections via ship along with her caretaker, Mia Winters. However, Evelyn managed to escape during transport. She murdered most of the ship's crew and destroyed the ship. We believe she then abandoned the vessel that had washed up in the bayou near the Baker residence. The aforementioned operation to eliminate Evelyn was BSAA's failing. We cannot deny that, as it resulted in Evelyn infecting innocent civilians. BSAA will have to take responsibility should these events ever come to light. As such, we advise that a cover story is fed to the media and BSAA's involvement is kept quiet. End of report. Giant RE7 lore dump. Hope you guys like it. E-Series Mutamycete Analysis Report. Biological Analysis Report on the E-Series Mutamycete, henceforth referred to as mutamycete, recovered from the Baker residence. The mutamycete has similar characteristics to cladosporium, black mold, and has incredibly high reproductive properties. It acts like a parasite, infecting the cells and rewriting the DNA of its host. Furthermore, when it combines with other bacteria, it creates its own muscle tissue, brain, and nervous system. As such, an organism infected with the mutamycete transforms into a type of undead monster. End of report. Bioweapon Report File. A human biological weapon constructed through the implantation of mutamycete into a human embryo has the ability to infect with a fungal network and controls hosts through brainwave signals. Evelyn was driven by a natural instinct to create a family, and the infected victims she controlled were her surrogate family. However, due to an innate defect in her chromosomes, Evelyn's cells reproduced at an accelerated rate, causing her to age rapidly, then die. End of report. The Connections Report. The Connections is a crime syndicate with no base of operations. Their organizational structure is unknown. However, we are aware of their actions on a global level. In recent years, they have been particularly active in Eastern Europe. Most of their activities appear to revolve around the creation and selling of bioweapons. Evelyn was one of their products. Reliable sources have confirmed that the criminal organization was founded by Brandon Bailey. Bailey is a shrewd man and was once the right-hand man of Oswell E. Spencer, CEO and president of the Umbrella Corporation, his current status and location unknown. Bailey and Spencer became estranged due to differing visions, and Bailey used the connections he made working as the director of the Umbrella Africa Research Center to branch off and found the crime syndicate. The organization's main goal appears to simply be commercial gain. Further investigations are in progress. End of report. I think I remember a file in Resident Evil 5 when you get to the Africa research facility. Written by that guy. I don't remember any details for sure, but that sounds right to me. According to BSAA's top secret documents, the Baker incident as I know it was just another statistical blip to be recorded. That fateful night when the tanker washed up in the bayou, Jack took that little girl from the shipwreck and into our home. Then she turned everyone crazy, made us into monsters. BSAA knew this when they manipulated the media and covered the whole thing up. An easy thing to do for an organization with the direct backing from the United Nations. They couldn't let anyone know it was them who let Evelyn, the cause of all this, escape. I continued to investigate and finally caught wind of Ethan and Mia's location. 4. Where the Winterses are. BSAA Investigations Department. Transcript of interview with Ethan Winters. Audio begins. Shall we begin then? Please state your name and occupation. Ethan Winters. I'm a systems engineer. How many times do we have to do this? When are you going to let us go? Our interviews until now have been necessary to conclude if you had any ulterior motives. Now we understand that you were just an innocent victim in this whole incident. So you're going to let us go? Yes, but we have one condition. What's that? We would like you and your wife to remain under our supervision. In exchange, we will provide you with a new home, a new country. What are you saying? You want us to take on new identities? Wait, a new country? You want us to move to another country? To a lovely country in Eastern Europe, to be precise. Europe? You've got to be kidding. Why the hell would we? You are both witnesses to what happened. There is a certain criminal organization who is looking for you. We are doing this for your protection. Think of it more like witness protection. But all the way to Europe, without any say? You can forget everything you experienced here, start a new life. It's better for both of you that way. There's no way we can forget everything that happened. I want to talk to Mia about this. Let me talk to Mia. Audio ends. BSAA Investigations Department. Transcript of interview with Mia Winters. Audio begins. According to our examinations, you are mostly free of the mold now, Mia. Did you tell him about my past? No. As a sign of appreciation for your cooperation, BSAA has not divulged your involvement with the connections. I just want to return to a normal life with Ethan, to forget everything. Audio ends. Ethan and Mia are in Europe. I was ecstatic that I finally had a clue into their whereabouts. However, that was where my investigation hit a brick wall. BSAA's security is tight, and even with some acquaintances helping me out, no one knew the Winters' exact location, which makes sense when you consider an international crime syndicate is after them. 2 years passed, and no progress. I ended up working as a rookie reporter for a small newspaper in New Orleans. The Baker incident has all but vanished from people's minds. Then one day, a letter arrived at my tiny apartment. It was from none other than Mia Winters herself. Excuse me. Mia's letter. Hey, how are you doing? It's been a while, hasn't it? BSAA won't let us send any emails or letters. But I gave this directly to an employee to give to you, so it should be safe. Our location is still hidden. I've always wanted to tell you how thankful I am. Ethan and I would have died in that house if it hadn't been for you. It must have been hard to fight all alone for so long. So, thank you. I can't tell you where we are, but we're safe and happy. I feel like we've finally settled down into our new life. The house BSAA gave us is huge. I don't know what to do with it all. Oh, that reminds me. There's a reason I wanted to write you. Ethan and I had a baby. I included a picture of her with this letter. I warn you, she is so cute. We named her Rosemary. Isn't it such a wonderful name? I hope you can come and see her someday. Ethan wants to see you too. I've learned all kinds of local dishes. I'm sure you'll like them. No need to reply. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Take care of yourself, okay? Sincerely, Mia Winters. A letter from Mia and Ethan out of nowhere, and they have a daughter. I had almost given up finding them. I couldn't hold back the tears. I'm glad the three of them are happy in their new life. Just as I went to close the mailbox, I spotted another envelope. It was embossed with the BSAA logo, the sender unknown. It contained the following. BSAA HQ, warning letter to Chris Redfield. Chris, we are growing concerned with your recent activity. According to recent reports, you have taken personal control of the elite unit, the Hound Wolf Squad, without permission. And you've accessed a number of top-secret documents, also without permission. What the hell are you doing? What are you and your squad doing in Eastern Europe? Who the fuck is this Miranda that keeps popping up in your correspondences? What's with the investigation into the Winters family? You've been very critical of BSAA since the Baker incident. You might be one of the founding original 11, but I cannot let you continue to run around unchecked, so I will repeat myself. What the hell are you doing? BSAA HQ investigations. There was one thing scribbled on the back of this. It's not over. This is everything I have on the Baker incident. It's purely for my own reference. I don't intend to send it out to the general public. I will continue my investigation. Many have tried to get in my way, slow me down, but I'm doing this for my family. I won't give up. I know that someday I'll be able to give Ethan and Mia my thanks directly. At least, I pray I can. My name is Zoe Baker, a survivor of this tragedy. Baker Incident Report, end. I do like that it's canon that Zoe survived. That makes me very happy. Okay, now let's do a new game on Village of Shadows.
But the forest greeted them with a dark, cold silence, the bushes empty. Yet determined to find the berries, the rascal broke free from Mother's grasp and vanished into the trees. Mother's worried cries faded fast. The girl went on, over vine and under branch, and into the forest deep. Feeling strange eyes upon her, the girl recalled Mother's scary bedtime tales, and her throat became bone dry. Then the Pat Lord appeared. He greeted her warmly and bit his own wing. "Come, child, quench your thirst," he said. So she drank the thick, dark blood and smiled with joy. Passing through the graveyard, menacing storm clouds loomed, and the air turned bitingly cold. The girl was shivering in her thin clothes. Then a dark mirror appeared, and with a click of his fingers, crafted mist into a beautiful dress. "Come, child, warm yourself," he coaxed. So she clothed herself and smiled with joy. Across waters deep hoping a boat she found would carry her home. But hunger's grip tightened and her heart grew heavy. Then the Fish King appeared and offered one of his many fins. "Come, child, eat your fill." So the girl ate and smiled with joy once more. Continuing on, she soon entered the forest's dark heart. Then an iron steed appeared, bearing a beautiful golden gear. The creature said nothing as the girl approached and snatched what she thought was another gift. The horse grew angry and summoned the other monsters. Terror filled the girl's heart as the wild wind rose around the beasts. Suddenly, a witch appeared, dark yet regal.
What a story.
"If sweet love was the way you took," she snarled. "So now do." In a blink, the girl was trapped inside a mirror. She's asleep.
6 months old.
Woman at the store said it was traditional. Besides, Rose doesn't seem to know.
Because she doesn't understand it. Thank God. We moved here so that she wouldn't have to deal with any of that, remember?
There's nothing wrong with my memory. You're just being paranoid.
It's not. Never mind. I'm sorry. But I'm not paranoid. I'm just cautious.
Then, go cautiously take your daughter to bed. We'll finish dinner.
All right. Peaceful prologue time.
It's okay, Rose. Your mother doesn't want to remember it. I can't blame her.
Photo mode. There's an achievement, believe it or not. All you have to do is enter photo mode and exit. Please use the computer's screenshot feature when taking a screenshot. These will be saved on your computer's storage. Oops. There it is. Achievement unlocked. Photographer. 1 of 49. Use photo mode. So close. Crafter. Craft an item in the crafting menu. That one will probably do.
Nothing. I'll put her down.
WDSA to walk. Can turn on a nice cartoon. Rose's diapers. She's started to outgrow them. River, relax. You're killing me. The main unit of the baby monitor that's turned off.
Once you're a big girl, we'll have a drink together, all right?
Pregnant Mia.
Oh, Mia. What a miracle.
3 of us on a beach.
3 years ago. I couldn't even imagine something like this would happen. Our taste in music's definitely improved over the years.
You mean mine has?
Nice.
You hungry? No? Maybe later then.
Don't get too close to me when I'm cooking, babe. Hey! What are you doing, mister?
February 2nd, 2021. Rose's half birthday. Happy half
Her birthday will
birthday.
be here before we know it.
They grow up fast. Let's just enjoy it while we can.
Rose's food, February 6th. Rice cereal, banana puree. 7th. Sweet potato puree, boiled spinach and cream. Ethan, don't give her any sugar or honey. And no mushrooms. Yeah, we're afraid of fungus. That kind of makes sense.
Mia makes everything by hand, so this stuff keeps piling up.
Horn of plenty baby food. Formula doesn't look too bad. Jazz albums you were never able to get when you were young. It's funny because it's true.
Mom got you another new book?
My first book of ABC. Okay, yeah, we can't check them twice. There's actually another achievement we can get in the house. A pretty silly secret optional one, but don't worry, I'll show it to you.
She's going to grow up beautiful. Once things warm up, we can go for a walk. There. It's like I said to your mom. That book's too scary for you.
Mia's medication. She's been on a strict regimen ever since the incident. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Your mama and I love this song so much.
The music box Grandma gave us for our wedding. Mr. Everywhere from the Baker House.
I even keep this around. I should get rid of it someday. Gotta do a deep clean before Rose starts walking around.
Curtain closes on the Dulvey gas incident. The committee completed their investigation on the 18th into the Dulvey toxic gas leak in Louisiana in 2017. They concluded the deaths were caused by a leak of natural gas that had built up in the mud rock under the area. Jack Baker, 57, and his family, who were exposed to the gas, perished. Ethan Winters and his wife were also believed to have been nearby, but their current whereabouts are unknown. The entire area has been closed off by officials, who believe it will be at least 10 years before the area is habitable again.
Everyone's forgotten about this already.
A historical look into the architecture of Eastern European castles and keeps by George Trevor. That's a that's a deep cut into Resident Evil lore. For those of you who don't know, I'm trying to remember if the ball is on the ground level or not. George Trevor is the architect who designed the Spencer Mansion from the first game and was eventually imprisoned inside and killed. No, it must be upstairs. And of course, his daughter, Lisa Trevor, became a pretty formidable monster in the remake of the first game, and lore-wise, she is, among other things, the source of the G virus that was discovered inside her.
Almost there, honey.
Alright. There's the ball. We can go ahead and put Rose down. Put Rose to bed.
Don't you worry. I'll be right downstairs. Daddy won't let those weird fairy tale monsters get you.
Nice detail touch. He turned it on. Now, what I don't remember is where I have to kick it to. There it is. Pretty easy. Achievement unlocked. Goal. Move the ball from the Winters' bedroom into the study. It's about as easy an achievement as you'll ever get. Rose's clothes for tomorrow. February 6th, 2021. Mia and I had another fight. I accidentally mentioned what happened 3 years ago and she blew up at me. We finally settled down in our new life in Europe and can bring Rose up properly, but I still feel like a part of me is trapped in that hellhole back in Louisiana. I know Mia doesn't like to talk about it, but can we really just forget everything and pretend it didn't happen? Shouldn't we face what happened there so we can live our lives with Rose without it hanging over our heads? We owe her that much at least. I know Mia knows this too. She wouldn't have exploded like that at the hospital if she didn't care. I'm watching for an autosave signal. Name, Rosemary Winters, DOB, 2/8/2020. Height, 62.3 centimeters, 24.53 inches. Weight, 6.57 kilograms, 14.48 pounds. Screening, hearing, vision, touch, reflex test. All results show no issues. Patient is in good health. Other notes. Results for additional fungal pathogen tests will be provided by BSAA, Appelfeld Memorial Hospital.
Rose is fine.
Rose's favorite toy. Okay. Wedding day. Pictures of Mia. Pregnant Mia. Ultrasounds. Nice. And there's Rose.
I wish it could stay like this forever.
I like her in the inner tube. Gun survivalist. A heavy firearm. A heavy firearms manual for field combat situations by Joseph Kendo. That's another reference. The gun shop owner from both versions of Resident Evil 2. Okay. Let's go ahead and head downstairs. I think that's everything we can find. / do.
Is she okay?
Sleeping like a baby. That smells good. What's that?
Oh, hands off, mister. It's churba de lagoon. It's a local recipe.
Wow. Sounds full made.
Local wine, too. But if you're gonna keep sulking all evening, maybe you shouldn't have any. You really have to stop worrying.
It's just finding you in Louisiana, the pregnancy, Chris moving us here, military training, it all happened so fast, you know?
At least we're all together. You, me, Rose. Now, everything's gonna
Seriously? think we can just forget about what happened in Louisiana?
It happened so long ago. I don't understand why you are so...
Mia, get down! Mia!
Well, what on earth is happening here?
Mia, oh God! Chris? What the hell?
Sorry, Ethan.
No! What? Why?
Go move!
All clear. Rose? What the hell you doing with my daughter?
Package secure, sir. Take him away.
I said get your hands off her!
Ethan, no.
Rose.
Get him out.
Well, shoot. We should get an autosave before we take control again. I'm gonna watch to try and be sure, because I'd like to cut it.
Hey, Doc.
Hello, Mr. Detective. I've got your daughter's results back, and I'd like you to come in to talk about them. How about next Thursday, 4 o'clock?
No problem. We'll be there. That was the doc. She'll see us next week. Hey, now. Think positively, all right? We talked about this.
I know. We hardly talk about anything else. I keep telling you, it's not Rose that I'm worried about.
Well, then what are you worried about? Look, she's gonna be fine. I just know it. What else matters?
We matter, Ethan! You matter! You just won't.
Mia, what are you talking about? Is there something you're not telling me? Come on, talk to me. Damn it. I have to take this.
Well, that's foreboding. My little angel.
Jesus.
About damn time. What's your status? Is the package safe?
What are you talking about? Where's Chris Redfield? And Rose?
Who is this? This is a secure channel. You are not authorized to walk over.
Fuck. What the hell happened here?
Well, that sure should be an autosave. I mean, let's find out, but I'm cutting it regardless. I need to say continue. See where that drops me. Looks like right where I want it to. Indeed. Perfect. Okay, terrific. So there you go. With a massive lore dump and a little prologue, this has been Let's Play Resident Evil Village. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I hope you'll give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. If you're interested in discussing this or any of my other content, the best place is my Discord server. There's a link to the Discord in the video description that I've set never to expire. That being said, Discord's got a bad habit of expiring my links anyway. In the event that has happened, please feel free to contact me directly. I'll be very happy to send you an invite myself. If you care to support me or the channel, the best way apart from liking and subscribing is through my Patreon page. Patreon supporters get to nominate and or vote for the games they'd like to see completed on the channel in the Patreon slot. That currently belongs to Resident Evil 8. When the game's chosen, I play it through front to back in my aggressively completionist style on the highest available difficulty setting, unless it imposes a time limit. And once the game's finished, I have my supporters choose another. Patreon supporters also get early access to all of my Patreon videos well before they premiere on YouTube. If you're interested in learning the details or getting involved, the link to the Patreon is also in the video description. Regardless, I really do want to thank you for watching. I'm grateful for your time and attention. I appreciate you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Take care.